Well, welcome to Blog Camp 2016, guys. This is exciting. I tried this last year, and I had a few people kind of go through it with me as it was just big experiment, and some people had a little bit of success. I actually was able to write 3 blogs in 1 year thanks to Blog Camp. And so let's talk a little bit about what that means, what it means to have a blog, how to use that blog effectively, and how to get content completed in 1 month that'll cover either 6 months or 1 year. I've got 2 tracks that are laid out in the Blog Camp group on Facebook. So we'll start out with the first thing you need to understand about your blog, and I think this is the most overlooked thing, and that's your target. Who are you trying to reach? A lot of people don't have a clue. They just write and hope that somebody will pick it up and look at it. But the truth is, you really need to be informed about who you're writing to and have that target defined. It doesn't mean you may be trying to reach a lot of different kinds of people, and that's okay. But if you shoot for one, you'll hit a broader audience. So figure out who it is that's really going to get the most out of your blog and write towards that person. And I think that'll make a big difference in how your blog comes together. We will talk about that in the first couple days. We'll talk about your target, and these next couple steps we'll talk about and go over that. So the first few days of February, you're actually going to take some time to write this out, and I want to encourage you to use the Facebook group. If you figure out what your target is, if you figure out what these next steps are, I want you to actually post it in the Facebook group, and the reason why is because there may be someone else who can really benefit from this, and if they see it, they can learn from what you posted. Maybe you can't figure it out, but if you see what other people have posted, it'll help you figure it out. So utilize that Facebook group. It's a very valuable tool, and I want to encourage you to check it out and see what it can do for you. Once you figured out your target, who you're trying to reach, you really want to identify your mission. Now, let me give you an example. One of my blogs is manlyhood.com, and the mission of Manlyhood is to equip, educate, and entertain men in an engaging way. Now, my mission actually encompasses my target a little bit too. That's who I'm trying to reach with manlyhood.com and with that blog. And so figure that out as you start blogging. Who are you trying to reach? Maybe it's women under the age of 30, but then figure out what it is you want it to do. If you are a young living oils distributor like Zoe is, you might find that posting your blog may be to help teach women about essential oils and what they can use it for, or teach men about it. I think Zoe's actually going to be partnering with Rochelle Brookins and her Believe Berries blog team, which is a blog that's geared towards women, so that's why I mentioned women there. But so what she's going to be writing about is content that helps her connect with that audience so that she can then introduce her products and her oils. But I know that part of what Rochelle is looking for is even on a broader scope. She's looking for other content as well. So if you're part of a blog team, you want to find out from your blog team leader what it is they're looking for and try to make that happen. But understand what your mission is before you get started. That's really going to inform everything you do. Because if you don't, you're just posting content that doesn't mean anything. It doesn't get you where you need to go. I want to encourage you also to look at what your values are. You might say, okay, we'll post this and we'll talk about this, but we won't talk about this. This is not who we are. We don't believe in this, or we believe in this. You may find that helps to guide you a little bit as you're writing your content as well. The next and probably most important thing is goals. That's part 3 of my introductory speech here for the kickoff. And a goal is important. It's got to have a deadline. So you may be looking at, where do we want this to go down the road? Where do we want to be in 1 month, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, whatever it is? You need to set some goals and some deadlines. I would think that our first goal would be for the month of February. We want to create and post 1 year or 6 months worth of content. So that's your first goal, and you can write that down. Yay, I gave you a goal. And you might have to modify that based on what your lifestyle is. I know that last year when I did this, I was working full-time with my own business, but I had a lot more flexibility. This year I've got a full-time job and a part-time job in addition to my business. So I'm not going to be able to do this for 3 blogs this month. It's probably just going to be 1. So, take some time and figure out what your goals are, and that's going to help inform you and help guide you again. If you don't write it down, it's not a goal, it's just a dream. So write it down, give it a deadline, and that will make a difference in this program for you. Let's talk a little bit about making a plan. What are we going to do? What is Blog Camp? What is this structure all about? How in the world did Josh Hatcher write 3 blogs, a year's worth of them, in 1 month last year? And the answer is pretty simple. I came up with a great plan and a great editorial calendar. And those are 2 Google spreadsheets that are posted in the Facebook group right now. I posted them before we got started. And you can get in there, and if you click the Make a Copy button, you should be able to put a copy into your own Google Drive, or you can download them as an Excel format for your computer if you work that way, if you'd rather not do it online. And it's going to give you the opportunity to go through. The one of them is the editorial calendar. You'll use that. I think you'll start using it maybe day 2 or day 3 of Blog Camp. But the other one will actually spell out what we're going to do for the next 30 days. What your steps are, what you need to try to write for and accomplish. It's going to spell out on day 1, write this. On day 2, get images for these months. And I know I'm going to let you know a little secret about how this is going to work. So right now, a lot of people, if you're watching this at all, you're going to say, oh my gosh, I can't imagine writing, 1,000-word blog post every week. How are we going to do this if I have to do that for every week all in 1 month? The good news, it's going to be a lot simpler. Which is actually the next thing we're going to talk about. Keep it simple, stupid. The KISS principle, which is a very valuable principle that I find works for a lot of things, and I really appreciate it because it helps me with just about everything, including my relationship with my wife. The minute I try to complicate things, it's just a mess. Just keep it simple, right? My wife's not smiling. She doesn't find it funny. Do you, Zoe? Okay. But keep it simple, stupid. It's important. What we're going to do is I want you to stop and erase every image in your mind of what a good blog post is. I think we think blog posts are good when they're these 1,500, 2,500 word essays. The truth is, and this is a little graphic, you'll have to forgive me, but the truth is that people read a blog post when they sit down on the John or when they're at a stoplight. That is the time frame that they have to read your blog. They're going to read it in about a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes max. If you are writing a long essay that gets into every detail about everything, the truth is they're just not going to read it. They're going to give it what the social media culture has deemed the TLDR treatment, too long, didn't read, and they just pass it by and they don't even look into it. Keep it short, keep it simple. And one of the ways to do that is, and a lot of times your idea might be a long 1,500, 2,500 word post. That's your idea that you want to get on paper. Well, instead of thinking of that as one blog post, I want you to think of that as 1 month blog post. The core of Blog Camp is going to be 1 major post a week. Okay? You can pick the day of the week that you want it to post on. I've found that Mondays and Tuesdays are my best days for getting people to read my blog posts. So if it goes live on Monday, people will read it. If it goes live on Tuesday, people will read it. And when you do that, it's going to give you that clarity, give you that direction, and it's going to help, okay? But if you have a big, long post, write the big, long post and then split it up into 4 or 5, depending on how many Mondays are in your month, which is also in my editorial calendar. Figure out how many Mondays are in a month and then split it up. Take that long post and split it up into installments. You want to shoot for no less than 350 words, and I think 500 to 700 words is probably like your max. I wouldn't go over 700 words. Can you? Yes. Will people read it? Sometimes. But I think what happens with this program is if you really have to write those long posts, split them up. Here's my encouragement to you. This is what we're doing for 1 month. We're going to create a weekly blog post. We're going to create a quote that we're going to share, a quote from someone else that we think is either inspiring or that is related specifically to our target audience or that's related to our topics that we're talking about. And we're going to curate content, which means we're going to find content on another website and we're going to write a quick blurb about it and then link to their article. So that gives us 3 posts a week for a year. And it's really not as complicated as you might think because you're only really writing a 350-word post for every week. And that should give you a little bit of ease and a little bit of confidence about what we're doing. I like to look at my editorial calendar and I like to start with my monthly topic. And I'll go through and I'll say, in May, we're going to talk about this. In June, we're going to talk about this. In July, we're going to talk about this. And I make a blog title with a subtitle that subtitle shows up for each week, whether it's 4 weeks or 5 weeks. And then I write to it. Now, I don't start with a big, long post. I start that way. I start with my titles, and then I fill in the gaps. Now, what I would recommend, if you are the kind of person who really likes writing those long posts, do this for the blog camp. Do what I'm telling you to do. Write them short, make them simple. Then the rest of the year, you have all the time in the world to add extra posts whenever you want, as long and as emotional and as drawn out and as detailed as you want, because you've already taken the time to make sure that you've got recurring content, which really matters. Let me tell you why it matters. The content that you post on your blog, every time you do it, you're screaming at Google saying, "Here I am!" Especially if your blog is properly formatted and set up. You're basically telling Google, "Here I am. Here's my latest post." And Google will penalize you if your site hasn't been updated in a long time. They're looking at sites and they're giving higher rankings to sites that have updated content, which is why it matters. And scheduling those posts will help you do that. Let's talk a little bit about something else that I want to encourage you. I think every blog post needs to have some kind of visual. I'm going to give you a few resources for that, and I'll post links in the Facebook group later, and you'll see them as well throughout this process. But I think every post that you post should have some kind of image. What you could do is you could comb through your Instagram pictures if you want, or look at the pictures on your cell phone. Find things that you think are fitting for what you're talking about and use those. Be careful using a Google image search. Okay, if you're going on Google and grabbing images, you might be finding an image that is somebody else has a copyright on. And let me tell you, some of these guys will go after you and they will fine you for using their image, even if it's only online for a week. I had a customer that specifically wanted a particular picture on his blog post that was only up for a week. Well, it was owned by Getty Images, and Getty Images came after him and fined him because he had the post on his site. He had the picture that didn't belong there. He didn't own the rights to that picture. So you want to be looking for original or content that is able to be shared. And I found some good resources for that. If you go to pixabay.com, Pixabay.com, you can find all kinds of free stock photography that does not require any attribution, which means you don't have to link back. A lot of times free photos are free, but you have to say, got this from this site, it's this person's work, which is okay. There's nothing wrong with that, and you can do that. But you can also, again, link back to, or you can use this Pixabay, and it's all free, and you can do what you want with it. And I really appreciate that and like that for a lot of my design work. If you want to make really pretty images that you can use for your blog, look into canva.com, canva.com, and it's got some great templates with good design, because I do believe design matters. I see a lot of blog posts where people are trying to design something and it just looks bad. And I think personally, part of your goal with a blog is to be able to reach a broader audience, maybe get a publishing deal, maybe sell something. You want to do something bigger than just post stuff on the internet. Anybody could do that. And if you just really want to do it, you could do it on Facebook. If you really want to post it with a blog so that you're actually turning it into something bigger and better for you, people are going to take it seriously, what you do. So you should take the time to use good images, use good design, make it look attractive. And I think Canva will help you do that if you need help with it. I talked a little bit about those quotes and that curation that we'll do. And that's kind of the last things I want to share with you for now before we get kicked off for our 1 year's worth of blogging. Quotes. What I like to do is I like to look up, for manlyhood, for example, I look up quotes about manliness, and I've got a big database of that. It's something that helps me, it inspires me, and pushes me forward. So when I'm reading books and on my Kindle, I will highlight a quote that I think would be appealing to my audience or equipping to my audience, and I'll highlight it and put it in my notes so that I can get it later and use it for my social media or my website. And I have a big, long, I mean, I post at least one quote a day on my Manlyhood page on Facebook, not including the quotes that I will recycle and use for my Man Crush Mondays, which post regularly, which is usually a quote from a famous person along with a picture of them. But you're going to be wanting to start gathering your quotes now, and you're going to need 52 of them because we're going to post one quote a week. So while you're doing your blogging, take a little time here and there, and if you're reading something and you see a quote that you think is interesting, or a scripture verse, or maybe you write your own quotes. A good friend of mine, Chris Holmes, writes his own quotes and makes his own images and shares them on Facebook, and to help sell his book, A Note to Myself and A Note to Myself Too, that he wrote. And his quotes are great, and they actually inspired a really cool a really cool thing where this guy writes "not Chris Holmes" and hashtags all these posts that are things that Chris Holmes wouldn't say. So it started out as Chris posting his own quotes, and it turned into a fun game on the internet. But start gathering your quotes. Think about what you want to say, and that Google Calendar, or not Google Calendar, Google Spreadsheet is a great place to post those. As you find them, stick them in there. And like I said, you can do a lot with that. If you go to websites like Goodreads.com, you can type in a word like health or wellness, and you can find all kinds of quotes from people about health or wellness, or motivation or inspiration, or whatever it is that you think is fitting for your audience. You can find all kinds of quotes about it really easy on Goodreads, and I think brainyquote.com is another website where you can find a lot of that. The next thing you want to think about is curation. Hopefully, you are a student as well as a blogger. If you want to continue to be a blogger, you need to be looking at other people's work. You need to be looking at other blog posts, news articles in your field, and constantly learning and reading, because what that'll do is that'll give you equipment to have things to write about and things to share. So when we look at curation, what we're talking about there is you find an interesting article online, and it's something that's related to your audience, something your audience would appreciate. Grab the link, grab the title of the article, and I like to grab the structure that I use. I'll grab the first sentence or the first paragraph, and I will grab that information. I'll plug it into my editorial calendar, and then when it's time to post it, I'll post it, and then I'll put that link back to the original article. And when we do that, what it does is it creates a way for your audience to be able to see additional content other than what you've written, good content that can be very helpful. So if you look at, start gathering articles now, because again, you're going to need 52 of those. So when you see an article that you think is of interest, and will still be of interest in a few months, because remember, we're doing this for a year, look for articles that are timeless and not time-specific, and those are your great curation articles, and you can use those for so much. So I know we've covered a lot, and we've kind of blasted through it. I apologize for the technical difficulties.
I'll give you just a minute.
This. Hello, how are you? Sabrina, is that you?
Yes.
Hi, I know I'm pretty sure this is going to be archived, which is good because you'll be able to catch up. I'm sorry, we had some weird tech stuff happening at the beginning. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm glad I was able to catch it. I was trying to figure out the whole video thing first.
I know. I'm so new to this too. I haven't used it much, and I'm like, hey, all these tools are available, and I thought this blog camp thing is a good experiment anyway. We'll figure out what works and what doesn't.
Well, I'm glad you're having it. I definitely need to get caught up or get started. I'm back in school now, so a whole lot is going on, and I know my writing has definitely taken a back seat, so I'm glad you're doing it. So.
Awesome. Yeah, when you watch the whole thing over from the beginning, you'll see, I talked about when we first started this, last year, I'm just like, I'd gone months without updating my blog, and I actually was able to do 3 blogs in 1 month for a whole year. Yeah. Okay. And when you look at the plan, it really explains it and spells it out. So that being said, I kind of covered my content. I know you're kind of jumping in at the end, and I feel bad.
No, don't feel bad. I actually was a part of it last time. I didn't go all the way through it, but I got your emails and all of that, so I'm familiar with the process. So it's okay. Go ahead.
Great, awesome. I couldn't remember who all did it last year, so that's great. Do you guys have any questions for me? Because I think we'll move into the Q&A, and if you guys have questions about blogs or questions about where to get started or anything like that, let me know, because I'd be glad to answer them.
Nope, I'm good.
That's all right. That's all right. Zoe, do you have anything? She's got the mute button on. She's got to figure out how to unmute it.
I know. It's because I have loud kids downstairs.
I have kids here too, so it's okay. I have the same thing going on.
No, I think I'm good. I still am in the very beginning stages where my blog is still being set up with our blog team, and we're trying to get things figured out. So it's, but using the spreadsheets and everything, I'm hoping to start kind of planning things out the right way, and so yeah.
Awesome. I want to encourage both of you too, and anybody else that's watching this later when they're watching the archive, definitely use that Facebook group, because And when you discover something that works for you, share it there, because what I've found is, and I think we saw some of that last year, people were able to help each other out just by giving each other ideas from what worked for them, because I know what works for me, but it might not work for you. And you might find when we're all kind of connecting together, we can kind of say, hey, did you think about this, or have you tried this? So
Okay.
I want to encourage you guys to use that.
Okay. I do have a question. When
Yeah.
you're doing it for business purposes, and I think that's what Zoe said that she was doing. Okay, so my platform, or what I would like to do, is help women in corporate America. So I have my personal blog, but then I want one blog that's going to be more specific, more targeted, not as flighty as maybe my personal blog is. Do you see any reason to post more frequently than once a week, or is that a monthly? Do you think a monthly thing would be okay, or how do you feel about frequency? I guess that's what my question is.
Right. I think that a lot of that depends on who your target is and what your goals are. And I think when you talk about that, and again, that's kind of I didn't cover that specifically to but I think as you work through that process, it'll help you kind of identify. You might determine that you don't need to have something every week, but it might be more effective. What help me understand, if you don't mind sharing, your target, you say, are women in corporate America. How do you want to help them? What is your goal to connect with them, and what's the end result?
Provide tips on things that they could do. It's more about self-awareness and how we play a part in our growth or in our corporate climb. So a lot of it is really basic stuff, but it's things that I think we just kind of miss. So I wanted to, I guess my actual audience will be women either brand new to corporate America, just starting, just recently getting their feet wet, or women that are frustrated in their careers. Does that help some?
It does help. Do you know where are you directing them? Like, are you then with your business? Are you working as a consultant with them?
As a coach, I'll be a coach. Yes.
Okay. So then, what you want your blog to do is you want your blog to connect them to coaching. So I would say I would post 3 times a week. Maybe it's one written post a week. I think the more contact that you have with them is the more touches and opportunities for them to get familiar and comfortable with you and to trust you. And when they do that, they'll throw money at you.
Okay, got it. Okay. Thank you.
No problem. And I know it's not all about the money, and I understand that too. I think all of us that blog, we don't blog to hear our heads rattle. We really want to make a difference for somebody. Like it's a win for you, I'm assuming, if a woman takes the advice she got off your blog and has a good result, whether she ever purchases your services or not. But a real win for you, an even bigger win, is if she decides, hey, you know what? I could really use a half-hour counseling session with her to get some coaching and to get some equipment. I'll throw some cash at this and see if she can help me. So I think the more often that you do it, the more comfortable people will get with you, and the more of a following you'll build. But some people say less is more too. So I think that you've got to find what works for you, but I think that the more you do it, the more of a relationship that you'll build, and I think that's really the key.
Okay. I hadn't thought about the relationship or the trust building part, so thank you. That's perfect.
And really, honestly, I think that's the truth about most people with their blogs.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I guess I do have a question. I clicked on the spreadsheets, and I see they're view only. How do I save them so I can edit them?
I think that what you do, let me see here, I'm going to pull up my own. I don't know how to screencast yet, so I'll walk you through it. Where did it go?
There's a link up on the side that says screen share, but yeah, I don't know how to do it yet either.
That's all right. If you go to the File button on when you open that, where you say where you can view it, go to File. Can you make a copy?
Okay, so I click on the actual file itself that you shared. Is that what you mean?
Open it up.
Okay.
And then click on your File menu once you have it open.
Okay, the file is open.
And then, do you have a menu where you say it says File, Edit, View, Insert, etc.?
Yeah.
Click on File and
Okay, make a copy.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you can edit that however you want, however you see fit.
And okay. So then would this be found, you probably wouldn't know, if it would be found in my Sheets app or if that would be a separate document then?
Yes, it'll be in your Sheets app, and you'll have access to it from wherever you're signed in with your Google account. If you don't use Google that much, if you don't use Google Sheets, you can just download it. I think if you go to that same file menu, you can save as. Download as, and you can tell it as an Excel if you prefer to use it on your hard drive.
Okay. Thank
You guys have any other questions?
No?
No, that's it for me.
Awesome. Hey, I'd appreciate it if you could also make sure to hop in the Facebook group and share your blogs. I'd like to kind of watch and see what you guys are doing, and maybe I get some other ideas to, shoot you a note and say, hey, maybe you should try this. I'd gladly give advice. So, share your blogs when you know what they are, and let's keep each other in the loop and help each other out.
Okay.
Anybody that's watching the archive of this, I'd encourage you to, again, hop in the group. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know what your questions are. We're going to try to equip you. And I will probably not be sending out via email the same way I did last year. I think we're going to try to keep it simpler this year and just do it right in the group on Facebook, just because that seemed to be a little simpler than a lot of people weren't getting their emails, and I don't want to get marked as spam on accident either. So we'll do it that way. So,
okay.
So I'll be posting things in the Facebook group every day, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.